according to the data, a 21.66 reduction in personal injury accidents. Through the traffic division, we've also procured technology in the way of speed taming devices. We purchased 2 brand new radar trailers. Currently, one is positioned in the 6th ward, and I'm not sure where the second one is positioned. But these have been quite effective. And we deploy them in accordance to citizens' complaints. Neighborhood safety officers, they're under the Patrol Operations Bureau. They're responsible for initiating blight elimination initiatives. They've been quite effective, but they operated the majority of the year 2024 with 3 vacancies. Since approximately a month ago, we began the hiring process to fill those 3 vacant positions. 1 new NSO started today, and my understanding, all 3 vacant positions have been filled, or will be filled here shortly. We formed law enforcement partnerships in order to fill the void that we had due to our short staffing. These partnerships were, one was with the Genesee County Sheriff's Department. So the Genesee County Sheriff's Department, the role they play is they respond to calls, non-priority 1 in our lower crime areas. That allows us to, allows the police department, Flint Police Department, to respond to higher crime areas and pay more attention to the violence, the gun violence that is occurring throughout the city of Flint. As I mentioned earlier, the pink shaded area, which indicates check the welfare calls, those are the type of calls that the Arrowhead Sheriff's Department is assisting us with. In addition to that, U of M Flint Public Safety, they have increased their presence downtown in the downtown Flint area. That allows, free us up also to give more attention to our high crime areas and perform initiatives in those areas. This partnership, both of these partnerships have been very successful in deterring crime, preventing crime, and increasing public safety. The second division, the Criminal Investigation Bureau. This is a team of detectives that investigate crimes throughout the city. They work together with detectives from the Michigan State Police to fully investigate crimes and collect all the facts. This evidence is then turned over to the prosecutor's office for later prosecution. Most detectives assigned to the Detective Bureau are also responsible for investigating other felony crimes besides homicides. Most of them are assigned to a homicide squad, but felonies besides homicides, they're assigned those also. Home invasions, felonious assaults, non-fatal shootings, things of that nature. Listed here are the statistics for the Criminal Investigation Bureau for the year 2024. As you can see, they were quite busy. They have a very heavy workload, and we need more detectives in that division in order for us to be more efficient and effective. To fill that void, until we can hire more detectives and more officers, I've hired part-time criminal investigators, 8 of them. They're conducting a variety of investigations to lessen that workload for those investigators that are assigned to the Detective Bureau. They're investigating crimes from fraud to felonious assaults, to home invasions, wherever we need them. We have one investigator that's responsible for background investigations for employment. So we're using every resource that we can to make us more efficient and more effective. On March 1st of this year, we reactivated the Special Investigators Unit. Let me go back. As far as the Criminal Investigation Bureau, this chart here indicates we've been tracking our homicides since 2021. As you can see from this scale, that in 2021, we recorded 67 homicides, 67. That was a violent year, a lawless year. At that time, we initiated some initiatives to reduce that violent crime. The following year, we considered these initiatives successful due to the fact the following year, 2022, we recorded only 39 homicides the following year, 2022. 2023 was 37 homicides. 2024, we saw a slight increase to 39 homicides. So our initiatives have been very effective, but those initiatives continue to this day and will continue on until we eradicate all this violent crime or attempt to. Special Investigators Unit. So on March 1st, in anticipation for a busy summer, the SIU was activated to full staffing. Initially, they've always been activated, but they only had 2 members due to just short staff. We fully staffed them as of March 1st. So they would be fully active. They would have a variety of duties and tasks. These include investigating fentanyl and opioid trafficking, overdoses, and deaths. These investigations will be unique because of the combination of enforcement and treatment, specifically targeting individuals delivering controlled substances that cause death. They also are seizing illegal firearms, shutting down nuisance homes, unlicensed and licensed locations, hotspot policing, all miscellaneous investigations, and assist with security at special events, including city council. Reactivating SIU is a welcome relief to the Patrol Operations Bureau, which has been responsible for responding to these types of events. This will allow the department to operate with increased efficiency. Violent crime reduction initiatives. Our main violent crime reduction initiative we refer to as geographically focused policing initiatives. What this is initiatives that are data-driven and evidence-based. These initiatives are designed to increase the presence and visibility of police officers at specific high crime locations to significantly reduce crime and disorder. We know this type of initiative has been very successful. If you look at the graph there, so we selected 2 neighborhoods for this initiative. One was we refer to as the Mott Park area, and the second one was Midway Townhomes on the south side near Lippincott and Dort Highway. As you can see that graph there, prior to initiating these initiatives, we had an abundance, several calls for shots fired, disorder, things of that nature, large parties, things of that nature. When we enacted those initiatives, you can see a decrease in that type of activity. Hotspot policing, again, areas where we're receiving many complaints of violent crime, shots fired, things of that nature. We're forming sort of a task force with other law enforcement agencies in the area, surrounding area, local, state, federal. We're swarming that area with officers, effecting arrests, decreasing violent crime in that area. Our community outreach. The primary community outreach is through our PAL program, which we've got several different programs through that. It's not just about athletics. We've had swimming lessons for children. We have programs for young women, culinary, arts for boys and girls, things of that nature. In addition to those task force and those community organizations, we also have officers assigned to the ATF, alcohol, tobacco, firearms, DEA, FANG, and GANG, Genesee County Auto Theft Unit, who provides all this data, real-time data, evidence-based data, is our real-time crime center, which is very effective. It's housed, is ran by Detective Booth and Intel analysts. They provide us all our data. They monitor different websites, things of that nature. They keep us well informed. There's no issue or incident in Flint that we're not made aware of or have inside information on, based on the work that they've done. They're very, very valuable to our job and our operation. And most recently, they've been all upgraded from part-time to full-time. Our support staff, our civilian employees, it goes without saying, they are very valuable to our operation. We consider our support staff an extension of a police officer. They run our internal controls. Without them, we would be, our customer service, our efficiency will be affected, which it is. So we've upgraded our part-time support staff to full-time, 6 of them. This is gonna help us be more efficient. It's gonna help us serve the public. And also, it will decrease those complaints about simply when they call, no one answers the phone. So that's the reason why they were upgraded to full-time. I thank the mayor's administration for that, but I think that's going to be really effective in the future. All these programs and all of these initiatives, they can't be done without personnel. So our staffing is of utmost importance. Majority of our budget is used for personnel. We need this personnel in order to effect these initiatives, to be more efficient and serve the public. We've been very successful this year, last year, with hiring Lieutenant Ron Dixon. He can provide those numbers as far as how many people we've hired this last year. Just this last week, I've hired 4 certified officers. 4 certified officers. Those officers do not have to go to the police academy. Currently, we have 5 officers scheduled to graduate from the police academy on May 1st. So our hiring and our staffing is increasing. I'm happy with it, finally, but there's still another academy to be held in September or late August, and hopefully we can fill those 10 vacant positions, and then I'll come back and ask for more. Other than that, I open up for questions.
Madam Chair.
Go ahead. First of all, before we get started, because our time is limited, I need to limit our time to so many minutes per round, and then any additional time you will be granted if it's not used. So we have 4 people. We have 40 minutes left in this hearing, so 10 minutes per person. Go ahead.
I think I need to wait for the.
I'm setting my timer, so go ahead. 10 minutes, Davina, please. 10 minutes? Okay, I've got it started on my phone, go ahead.
You started it at 10 minutes starting now?
Yeah, I'll start it over again.
Thank you. Good evening, gentlemen. Thank you all for joining us. First of all, I do want to commend the police department on all of the hard work that you all do. You have a thankless job. Even though you do receive some sort of compensation, it's still not enough for what you have to go through in the ways you put your lives on the line and the amount of time that it takes to care for a city, especially when you're severely understaffed. So I do want to start off by saying thank you so very much for all of the work that you do. I do want to commend you and at the same time be very sensitive to the families who have lost loved ones to gun violence or to any form of violence. I want to be very sensitive and acknowledge that that has still happens and no amount of that is okay. And at the same time, I want to commend you on lowering those numbers. So thank you very much for making our community a safer community. Now, I noticed there's a PowerPoint presentation that you're giving, and they're all kind of graphs and numbers and everything, and it's just a little hard to see when it's a little bit smaller. So is it possible for us to get that some of that information that you shared today? Yeah. Thank you very much. Now, we talked about the Patrol Operations Bureau. How many officers are in that bureau?
Plus at least.
Okay, over 100, all right. And you talked about, and I know you probably didn't say patrol units, but you said there were like 4 different components to that, or 4 different like mid departments to that?
Yeah, 4 different squads.
4 different squads to that. And over those 100, are those officers equally distributed, or do you need to put more in certain squads? Or I don't know how it works, so that's why I'm asking.
So, during the summer hours, which may start probably say June, July, August, the night shift, which is 6 p.m. to 6 a.m., due to the fact there's a lot of night activity during the warmer months, there is unbalanced schedule. They have more staffing than day shift.
Right, and I won't ask you for numbers, like exact numbers, only because I don't want to encourage crime. So that's why I won't ask for exact numbers, but thank you for that. Let's see. And you said that there are 10 vacancies in entry-level positions?
Yes,
in that division?
There were 10. I just hired 4 certified officers. So the exact number, before I hired them, it was 10. And
so, and you did mention a certified officer. Can you explain that one more time of what a certified officer is?
So a certified officer is an officer that's already attended the basic police academy.
Okay.
So we don't have to sponsor that individual to the police academy. Only thing they have to do is go through our field training officer program. And it depends on if they came from another department. It's a shortened field training officer program. But they don't have to go through the same training regimen as a officer that we sponsor through the police academy.
How are we doing with recruitment? Are we seeing better numbers? And you know what? Not necessarily recruitment being the only thing, but recruitment and retention. Are we finding ourselves in a better position?
Yes, we're in a much. I would say we're in a much better position at this time now than we were last year. We've had officers that left. When you talk about retention, but a lot of those officers have returned since. I can think of 3 offhand right now that returned this year. Right.
Okay. And then moving on to, you said that the NSOs are also under the Patrol Operations Bureau. And we finally do have 9 NSOs now, correct?
Yes, we hired, one started today, and the additional 2 are scheduled to start shortly.
All right, and then when they are out there, a lot of times we'll hear that certain addresses they do not want to go to because threats have been levied or there have been some issues in some way, shape, or form. One of the things that we do know that an NSO is completely different from an actual police officer. And so I'm just wondering, is there a law against threatening the NSO officers?
No.
Got you. Thank you. Mhm. How are threats against them, okay, so then when they are threatened, how are those threats against them handled?
Well, they're investigated, but it depends on the situation. We prefer them not to put themselves in a situation where they know this person has been a problem in the past. So, with a specific, this individual might have a problem with a specific NSO. One thing, we would like a different NSO to handle that issue, or we would have a police officer handle that problem. A lot of times during their normal duties, the NSOs, they come across stolen vehicles. So, several times, I hear, probably once or twice a week, them reporting, needing assistance for a stolen vehicle report. So, it depends. A lot of times, someone is gonna threaten an NSO or harm them, they're not gonna give us a warning about it, but, I look at it, I have the same concerns for NSOs that I have for police officers. Someone with a mentally unstable targeting one of our NSOs to do harm based on the job, because they're doing their job.
Right, and so when there are threats levied against them, and they're credible threats, because I know that NSO officers have faced people waving guns, brandishing weapons, all kind of things when they were attempting to do their job. How are those threats handled?
Well, if it's waving a gun, brandishing a firearm, that individual will be arrested. So we don't take those lightly, as I stated. NSOs have a very dangerous job. We want them to feel safe. Are they always going to feel safe? No. So we try to react in according, just if it was a regular police officer that was threatened.
So is there any specialized training that NSOs are required to go through? Walk me through the process of becoming an NSO, and once I'm hired, what happens after that?
Well, they go through a training program, sort of like a field training officer, like a police officer goes through. They provided all the ordinances, all the do's and the don'ts of an NSO.
Is it like a crash course, though, or what's the amount of time on that training?
I'm not sure the exact amount of time, but it's quite some time. I mean, they're partnered with a senior or more experienced NSO before they're released on their own.
So when we say senior or more experienced, what is the most senior NSO we have right now? How long have they been a safety officer?
Well, I know one has been there since, a couple have been there since I've been here 5 years, so they've been here probably longer or same amount of time.
Okay. And so when we talk about, you said we give them the law and the do's and the don'ts. There are certain laws pertaining to blight that I've been told numerous times are not being enforced. And so my question to you is, if it is a law and it is considered blight, why are we not enforcing it?
Well, it's the same thing with the a regular police officer. Some, based on citizens' complaints, numerous citizen complaints, the NSOs are concentrating. They've been instructed to concentrate on those major complaints. There's a lot of work out there to be done when it comes to blight. I know one of the main complaints that people are complaining about is as far as putting their trash can out early before trash is picked up, or leaving the trash can out. It's just like a lot of police work. They have to prioritize. I mean, if they went around and enforce every single, ordinance that they can enforce, it wouldn't. It just they don't have enough time in the day due to the fact their process that they have to follow is tedious. It's issuing citations, returning 14 days later, making sure the citation, the person has complied, but.
Right, and so since we know that this is a part of the process, right? Because the law is still the law, regardless of how tedious the process is. Since we know that there's a tedious process in place, then is there not another mechanism that can be put in place as far as the paperwork is concerned? Because I know last year you all presented numbers for how many calls the NSOs actually responded to, how many tickets were issued, and while there was a slight uptick, and you just have to understand, I have to be a little bit more direct when it comes to the
39
NSOs.
seconds.
Huh?
39 seconds.
That was 10 minutes already? That is wild. I yield.
Madam Chair,
Go ahead. Let me
first-
start.
first of all, this 10 minutes is ridiculous because everything that your department covers affects how economic development and people want to come in business in this city. A lot of things. One, how is morale?
Morale is, that's our main focus, is the morale of the rank and file, who they're the backbone of the department. So morale, I could say, staffing is directly related to morale. So now that we're hiring more officers, so officers are getting days off, they're not getting, mandatory to work overtime, because we're short-staffed. So the more people we hire, the morale increases.
And I don't want you to think, Chief, that I'm being disrespectful to you because I'm on 10 minutes with a whole year of problems.
Yeah.
So we didn't have this time limit before. The ladies' bathroom,
Yep.
did we ever get that started?
Yeah, so I had a conversation with Lee Osborne, was it yesterday? I guess a resolution has to come before, they've done the estimate, so a resolution has to come before city council. And my understanding, that's coming forward.
So the ladies' room has not been done, renovated since its creation, which it was part of the men's, and it's bad.
Yeah, it is.
It's bad, okay? So starting pay. So Flint police officers' entry pay is $20.92. You top out at $30.71. University of Michigan is picking off our police officers because they start at $28.34 and they top out at $43.20. What are you doing to increase pay? Hey, I ain't got but 10 minutes. I got to come straight down the middle.
That's a great question. So I'm fighting for higher wages.
What is fighting? How are you
We
doing
have
that?
we have a contract. We have contract negotiations coming up.
Okay, because you're losing good officers to U of
Yep.
M, and you're losing well-trained officers. Your officers, how many calls do your officers reply to in a shift? An average. I know it's like, what, 17, 19? Yeah.
that's
And
correct.
and other municipalities have like 4, 5. So your officers are very well-trained, and they should pick them all. I mean, so you got to figure out how to keep them here. One of the things that I did support, well, I didn't support that. I support taking your money from your gun and drug confiscation, giving bonuses to your officers, and that'll encourage them to go get into target crime more. What are you doing with that money? Besides paying for a center over at on Clio Road for water payment. I'm going to say, I will always support officers first, and I have. That money should go to the officers because your wages are terrible. And you're getting picked off. I mean, they picking you off left and right. Everybody, not just U of M, every municipality is higher than yours. So what are you doing with that drug confiscation money, and how much do you have in that account? I don't know if Mr. Moore or Shay could look that number up while you asking what we're doing with it. Or answering?
Well, I know what we do with it. We buy equipment and overtime.
Okay.
That's my primary.
How much is in that account,
I'm
Mr.
not
Moore or
sure.
Shay?
I believe right now we have, once it's in the neighborhood of 800,000.
800,000?
Right.
And how much has been spent out of that in the past year, in '24, last fiscal year?
I can get that number. I don't know that off the top of my head.
Okay, can you email me that?
Yes.
Also, thank you. How many unsolved homicides do you have?
I can't give you an exact number.
How many
But
open cases for detectives do you have? Over 10,000.
No,
Over
I wouldn't
5.
say, no, I wouldn't say it was over 10,000, no.
Over 5?
Could be. I can't give you the exact.
Okay, and I know you have, when your numbers that are going up, the people to understand those the criminal sexual conducts are going to, because you're just now processing the rape kits. And so that's where your increase is at in that area. Am I
You mean
correct?
the Saki grant?
I don't, no, I'm talking about when you do your graph that tells you your.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah, and that's because, is that because they're just now, how many are they processing now with the rape kits?
Well, every rape kit is processed. It depends on the victim, if they want it processed or not. So
I
you're
think
right.
there was a backlog in it before.
Yeah, that backlog has been cleared.
Oh, that backlog is clear?
Yes.
Okay, so the other thing, October the 14th, we had a conspiracy to incite a riot. I haven't heard anything about that. I get calls every day. Had calls last night. I harassed my harasser last night and called them back. I did.
Okay.
So what are we doing about this? I mean, we
Well,
got
it
a
was-
public look, I tell my residents, if my case ain't solved, don't think maybe yours is. Because we had a whole conspiracy to incite a riot with 12 people here. I haven't heard anything.
It was thoroughly investigated.
And what happened? Because I don't know. You haven't contacted me about it.
I would say, I would describe it as ongoing, but it was thoroughly investigated.
Okay, because I know we got pictures when you had with Billy Dantzler, with Paul. That was a whole court case. The video's all over social media. You got cameras everywhere, and I haven't heard anything. Okay, so I'm gonna move on. I ain't gonna stay stuck on that. Traffic. There was you know that in my ward on Westcombe University, we had a motorcycle accident where motorcycle meets car, and unfortunately he lost his life. Residents I know we've talked about back and forth, no speed bumps on there. What are we doing to decrease the traffic? Because people in Flint, they think it's out of bond.
Well, we have decreased the.
Speeding?
Yes, we have. We decreased, we measure that by the number of personal injury accidents we have each year. Compared to this time last year, it's been decreased. As I stated, we've procured technology by the way of speed trailers, where we're deploying those all throughout the city.
Yeah, you
We
got
have
one
speed-
right at my street, too.
Yeah, we have speed bumps, things of that nature. And on top of that, we have zero tolerance traffic enforcement. We have a detective in charge of that. He's a go-getter. He works hard. He's made several arrests. He's had several initiatives. He's
Okay,
been
I
very
hate to cut you
successful.
off, Chief. You know my minutes is dwindling down. Gang task force. These young folks are killing each other every day. There are shootings. I don't know how many shootings. I have been over there had a chance to find out how many shootings have we had. These kids are killing each other. The parents are afraid to talk about the kids, and it's so what are we doing to stop the gang violence? These kids shooting, they don't care who in the house. How many homicides or how many children were shot last year, and how many of those were fatalities?
I'm not sure the exact number.
It
but
was
I
over
can
10 though, wasn't it?
Our response is the same as we started back in 2021 to decrease the gun violence, and we had success at that. We have pockets of juveniles that are involved in this gang violence. We identified them. We know who they are, but we're dealing with juveniles again.
So how do you have a gang task force?
We don't need a gang task force. No, we don't.
We don't?
There's several task forces already exist. We have FBI Safe Streets Task Force. We have our Special Investigative Unit. There's several task forces already
Who
assembled.
runs, so the FBI runs the Safe Streets
Yes,
Task Force?
yes.
And what is the other one?
Our Special Investigative Unit. You have the ATF. They have a task force. We all work in conjunction together.
Can you, I know our time is limited, can you email that to everyone? Because there was just another shooting. Mott Park and thank you for the good job you did on the one on Frank Street. I appreciate you with that, but now we got another one, and these are, 15, 16-year-olds that are doing these shootings. And when they shot up one house, they shot a senior citizen house up right next door. They're not good shots. Yeah, and they don't care who's in the house. So it's not working, is what I'm saying. We need
Well,
to
no,
do.
it's
You think it's working?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Our efforts are working.
So so does anybody know how many children were shot last year?
You said 10, I think it was under 10 that were shot in fatalities. But I also wanted to add that.
Can you email that to me, please?
Sure. I also want to add that One, our traffic division has done a phenomenal job in terms of the reduction in PI accidents, accidents with injury, as well as the reduction of speed. The electronic devices has played a major part in that as well. In addition to that, the administration has created a program where we have peer mediators that are going through courses in school to help reduce violence in their
Is
communities.
that in every school?
And in their schools.
Because our children go, we have almost
4 seconds.
3,000 here and 2,900 here and another 12,000 that aren't
So
even in our
this
district.
is the
your
start of
time.
the
See, look,
program.
this is a problem.
May I finish that, just that?
Go ahead and finish.
This is the start of that program, which has been very successful with young people who are motivated to create change in their communities and in their schools. Very effective program. Another program where youth are involved with the police with an overall objective to, one, bridge a relationship and reduce crime, is our Police Athletic League program, which is doing a phenomenal job in a variety of different activities to bring
Cooking
students
class
in.
was popular.
Very popular and very beneficial. It's not only about cooking, but the relationship you build while you're cooking with the chief or whomever. So we are initiating or have initiated several programs to build relationships with young people. Now, will it stop every gunshot tomorrow? No. But if you don't start somewhere, you won't have a positive outcome in the near future. So we've done many of those things that you're talking about. Thank you.
Well, I'm not on my time. This
Go
is
ahead.
Councilwoman
Go
Wilkie
ahead, I
Carter's
started
time.
now.
Thank you all for coming. Let me turn on my mic here. Thank you for coming. I wanted to, while we're talking about youth, do we still have our police liaison officers in the schools?
Yes, we do. We have 4.
Okay, in each of, what is it?
5.
5. About 2 over in the high school or just
2 in the high
one?
school,
Yeah,
1 at Holmes Middle School, and Scott School, and have a supervisor.
okay. And the police liaison officers are under the Patrol Operations Bureau or what?
Well, they operate out of there, but they're really underneath the, because they're in charge of the Juvenile Bureau also, so they're underneath the Detective Bureau.
Okay, okay. Now, and I'm gonna skip all over the place. The neighborhood safety officers. I need help. And this is serious, and I think we talked about this one particular situation on Williams.
Yep.
Okay, Williams and Avenue A. And when I tell you this situation is spilling over into other departments, particularly the Blight department. And from what I understand, I was out of town this weekend, so I didn't see it, but I have pictures. There was an accident right there on that corner again, for the probably 3rd time, with this particular vehicle, a truck, with junk on it, okay? Now, apparently, somebody ran up on the truck and all of the junk spilled over into the street. Now, this truck has been an issue since that truck has lived right there. No tags. Where is the neighborhood safety officer? Why is this particular truck not being dealt with?
Yeah, I believe we spoke, but I don't believe it was a truck. But, so it's parked there consistently, or?
It's a truck. It's a different truck now with a bunch
that's
of
what-
junk on it.
Yeah. We'll look at it, we'll deal with it today.
And the thing is, this truck is parking in a no parking zone, and it's causing cars to, and it's probably some speeding going on down William Street. I have speed bumps now, but the truck is parked there and people can't see. And this truck is causing a lot of accidents. I want this truck gone. I want them dealt with, ticketed, whatever. Now they don't even have tags. The car should be impounded somewhere.
Well, Councilwoman, you know I always tell you, I take care of it. It's on
Okay,
Williams,
take
it's on
care of
Williams.
that.
We got it.
Cause,
We got it.
and the other thing, I have several cars in the 5th Ward that's parked on the streets, no tags, no nothing. That's an ordinance violation. And I know the NSOs are busy, but please start ticketing. We gotta start enforcing our ordinances. This is, and I'm frustrated with it. And parking in that area, we getting new neighbors. Parking is getting ready to be crazy. They're parking. I ain't never seen somebody they pulling up in the driveway, and they got the cars going across the yard now. Now I'm gonna have to start getting out ticketing. And I will do it. Yeah, I had to go to a house yesterday. They have a trailer parked on Land Bank's property. A trailer. This trailer is not supposed to be parked on the lawn, and particularly on Land Bank's property. Land Bank didn't give them authority to park on their property. So that should be dealt with. These are some issues. I'm not pleased with the neighborhood safety officers. I'm not. And when I leave my house every morning to go to work, I don't see not one neighborhood safety officer out patrolling. And that's an issue. I have to do the patrolling. And I'm tired. I ride around my ward taking notes of things that need to happen, and it's not happening. I shouldn't have to do that. On my way to work and on my way back from work, and I leave work sometimes going looking at stuff. I shouldn't have to do that. The neighborhood safety officers should be out working. Maybe we need more neighborhood safety officers. Maybe we need 2 per ward. No, it's not working. We might need to look at how can we look at your budget to get more neighborhood safety officers. The blight, the parking, all of it. How are we going to enhance that particular division, the neighborhood safety officers? Also, what about community policing? Do we have any initiatives as far as that? I guess I think, and when we talk about the youth, and I know that we have the programs that you talked about, Boop, but I think our police officers need to be out in those areas where there are high crime rates. What is it? They're not called the Regencies anymore. What is it?
Midway townhomes.
Yeah. Maybe more community policing
Well,
in that area.
some of our initiatives are in that area. We do have neighborhood policing, but the main problem is, again, as I said, is our staffing. So for us to increase and do the things, the community-oriented policing that I want to do, we have to have our staffing levels at a certain level. So what that does, that increases the officers' unobligated time. Right now, all their time is obligated. They run from call to call to call. Mm-hmm. So as you see unobligated time increases, you see that type of activity because officers can stop into businesses and shoot
Right.
around with kids playing basketball. So,
Yeah, that would be nice to have more of that. I don't know if this question was asked or you talked about this. Are there any new initiatives or technology upgrade plans for the department?
Yeah, so our primary technology that we've been relying on has been very successful is surveillance cameras. So we're about to install 30 additional ones, including some in your area that will is going to assist us. It's going to assist us majorly as far as in that area we're talking about Williams and through there, because currently right now we don't have the cameras positioned in that area that I feel satisfied with. Once we get those in the area, that's the type of technology that we're relying on, and that technology, the reason why, has been very successful.
And did we talk about what is the department's plan to address? How many? 32. Oh, that's okay. I'll yield. I can't even ask this question in 32 seconds.
All right, thank you. I'll take my time now. I'm going to go back to the neighborhood safety officers. You know this is one of my things, especially since I haven't had one. And my previous neighborhood safety officer wrote more tickets than any other officer in the city. Last year, I suggested that we have at least one extra neighborhood safety officer to fill in where people are on vacation, have a day off, are on sick leave, whatever, as a backup, so that we don't have a backlog. I drove through just a small area of my ward after the storm, and I started sending requests for neighborhood safety officers to go to certain areas, and I just threw up my hands. It was like so overwhelming. I sat in one spot and did 5 complaints just from the houses that I could see. So is there any plans? I know that we're still shorthanded, or we just filled, so we have 9. Are there any plans to add any additional for that type of backup?
Well, initially we were budgeted for 10, but our goal, first of all, is to fill those 3 vacancies. So once we fill those, once that's solid, and we have those, we have a solid 9, then we'll go look at that additional 10th.
I don't want to wait another year I don't want to bring this up again, because I really think that it's important to the city to have those officers. Those people they see so much. You're right, they have found stolen vehicles. They have they see things that happen in the neighborhoods because they're in there all the time. And so I think that they're a vital link between the city and the residents. And I really want to see that bumped up to at least 10. And I believe we have the money in there for 10. Are you budgeted for 10 or budgeted just for 9? I know that for this year, we've been short for so long that we would have the money for one, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's in the budget for next year. I know Shay's looking that up right now. So that was one of my questions. Another question I had was, we were talking about the school liaison officers. Are we reimbursed by the school, or do we pick up those entire tab?
Yes. Yes, we are. I think it's 50%.
We have an answer. What was it? I can't hear you. Come up here.
Emily, what, is it you?
No. 12.
12.
For next year.
12 neighborhood safety officers? No, or 12 liaison officers. It's hard to hear. Oh, 12. Well, then don't stop hiring. You still have that job opening off. And I sent.
It's open.
Okay, don't stop hiring. So what about the school liaison officers? We get 50%?
It's 50%, right?
That, I'm not sure. I would trust the chief on that.
We get reimbursed 50% on that?
From the school, yes.
Okay.
The Flint schools do reimburse us 50%.
Okay, because I would like to, I'm glad to hear that, because I sure would hate to have to fit that whole thing myself.
And they're very responsive. Like, we send them the invoice, they send us back the
They pay us faster than we pay anybody else.
Probably, maybe.
Okay. So the Fund 207, the Police Fund Neighborhood Policing, is that the NSOs? Or is
No.
that just
That's
neighborhood?
different. That's neighborhood, that's a millage.
Okay. Okay. Is the Fourth Ward ever going to get a mini station?
We just discussed that last week.
Well, why wasn't I involved? I'm
You
getting
will-
those
You
phone
will
calls.
be, you will be, trust me.
I'm getting a lot of questions on that.
Yeah.
You know, that's one of the things, so I would be glad.
Actually, it's a weekly discussion.
Okay, all right, great. Now, I know that it doesn't matter how many officers right now, we are short-staffed. Yeah, we can, and I don't know how many more officers the budget could actually handle and at what wages. But on Monday night, we had a meeting for the Fourth Ward neighborhood cleanup. And people were commenting to me, what are we gonna do about the prostitutes that walk up and down the streets, Broadway, Franklin, Davison Road? They never see a police officer stopping anybody. I'm just bringing that to your attention, that this is an issue. And that's something patrol officers need to do, is stop these people if they see them. We see, I know that I have had multiple complaints about specific houses, and I hope that the special crime unit is investigating some of those houses where they suspect that, that they're cooking meth, and,
That's one of their duties and tasks. They've been mandated to do.
okay, I will make sure that you have that address. I have put it through, and
All
I'll
right.
make sure that you have that address. You and I talked earlier today, outside of this, and a lot of the questions that I had were already asked. But my big thing was, when is the next contract up?
For the officers,
Yes,
June 30th of this year, 2025.
of this year.
Yes.
Okay, and I know you probably aren't involved in the negotiations, so.
Yes,
we're-
I am.
Oh, you are? To Phil, do we have a built-in increase into the budget for any proposed wages?
I'm not sure I want to say publicly.
Okay, well, you don't have to, but, all right, did we take that into consideration of a possible wage increase?
We are planning to have negotiations with the police officers.
We're not saying how much,
Right.
because it all, also inside of this is all of our fringes and all that, and that all affects that. All right, so those were my questions that I had that weren't answered by my colleagues. So seeing how we have another 30
Madam
minutes,
Chair.
we will each take, I'll 5 to 10 minutes. Go ahead.
Is it 5 or 10?
Let's go 10.
All right, thank you.
And I'll yield my time.
All right, thank you very much. Just to kind of, and I was trying to, I had a whole lot of questions, but some of them were answered. Going back to the NSOs and the certain blight laws. So what my colleague raised an excellent point about economic development, how our city looks and how it affects whether or not people want to come in here, because a lot of times when developers or businesses are thinking of coming to cities and making their home there, if you will, they take a drive around. I know you all drive around Flint far more than I do, so I know you see how this city looks. And so when we're talking about blight and we're talking about the officers and we're talking about the trash cans, I know in the grand scheme of things it may seem small, but when you have someone who leaves their trash out 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, their trash bin, that is blight. No other way to look at it. And then the bin is laid over on the sidewalk, or it's blown across the lawn, or it's doing whatever it's doing. And while it might seem minuscule to you, I have one of the most stable neighborhoods in the city. as far as tax bases go in my ward, and people are selling their homes left and right because we can't do something as simple as enforce trash cans and them being removed in a timely manner. Christmas decorations that are strewn all across lawns seems like a small thing to you, and we're being told there's no time limit on a Christmas
Well, you said a
decoration.
small thing to me. I didn't say.
No. In the grand scheme of what you have going is what I mean by it a small thing. Yep, stay focused. And so, and I get it. I understand. Y'all are dealing with way bigger things. And so we're not asking you to deal with it. We're asking the NSOs to deal with it because that's part of their job. Part of their job is to ticket residents for those things and enforce the law. We don't want to call 911 for things that the NSO should be doing. It's simply all we're saying here is we don't want to have your resources strapped any more than necessary if we have a whole 9 people that are being paid to take care of those things for you. And so that's why I started off with asking, because I understand that they also get threatened. That's why I said, is there a law against threatening them? What happens when they're threatened? What happens to the people who threaten them? And I hear you saying that maybe you just send another officer, but if you have a resident who has a history of threatening people, what happens then? Because now you are out of any officer that can go to that residence, as opposed to that resident just being dealt with up front for threatening that officer. So what happens then, once they've threatened several officers and no one wants to go to the residence?
Well, if they committed a crime, I mean, threat, it depends on the threat. They're charged. They charged with that threat. They threaten the officer, they threaten the NSO because they're doing their job. Those are crimes, and they're dealt with accordingly.
Right, but we've had NSOs tell us that they're concerned for their safety because residents have levied threats and nothing has necessarily happened to the resident because of the threat. And again, I'm trying to figure out how to handle this in the most sensitive way because this is something y'all do every day. And so you know when or when not to. But if you have someone who is afraid to do their job, which is another reason why I asked the question about what training they go through. So what do we do then?
So let me say that we have not received any notification by a neighborhood safety officer that there's some extreme threats involved with a particular household in their areas. If a neighborhood safety officer is threatened and feel in fear of their lives, they're attached to the traffic division, which has certified police officers and a certified police supervisor that they report to. Those situations are then dealt with by a certified law enforcement officer, as well as being attached to the Patrol Operations Bureau, who provides backup and support for them. They operate on the same channel currently as every police officer in a marked unit that's operating in the city of Flint at any given time. So if they call for help, trust me, ask the people who have been arrested because of their threats or threat of violence to those officers. We make arrests when those neighborhood safety officers are in a situation where a law is broken and we have the ability to effect an arrest on them. So people are arrested for bothering them in a manner that's inconsistent with what law is. So they are being arrested. Now, I would encourage you to tell them, because maybe they've forgotten, and we'll do the same thing on our end, if they're having issues, there's a supervisor that they report to, there's a lieutenant that they report to, and there's a captain over the bureau that they report to. Those concerns should be addressed to those supervisors so that we can make sure that the issues are handled. We care about the clerks in the building. We certainly care about those who are out in the community dealing with the public.
All right, well, thank you for that, and I'm gonna have to do a little bit of rapid fire here because I only have X amount of minutes left. The bottom line is we are all trying to work in a way that is collaborative with the police officer, because it's gonna take all of us to make this work in order to build the city up to be a place where people want to live, where they want to stay, where businesses want to come. And a part of that is enforcing the law and addressing blight. Even if it is a trash can that's out 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, there's a law that they cannot do that. And so if we have laws on the books that we don't enforce, then people start breaking other laws, if that makes sense. If people feel as though it's not going to be something that is going to be addressed, then they're going to continue doing it and pushing the envelope more. We just want blight addressed. I don't even know any other way to say it.
You're saying that, but I want
Yeah.
to make sure, because you keep putting it out there in the atmosphere, and I want to push back and say, the neighborhood safety officers are out working, and they're working hard. They are enforcing laws. Now, they may not be enforcing a visible law that you drive by and see on your way home, a trash can being turned over, a Christmas light still hanging on a house. If they were out writing tickets for those things, I would imagine in another year when we're sitting here, you would be complaining that the car behind the house or in the yard or across the sidewalk didn't get addressed. Well, it's because they're handling the Christmas lights that you want them to address. There are many things that they have to do throughout their normal day
So-
and duty. Let me finish.
I only have a limited time, though.
Also, in addition to that, I'll ask the chairman to give you some grace. In addition to that, these neighborhood safety officers, when they write a ticket, it doesn't end there. They have to go to court, which takes time.
Right, which is
They
why
have-
I asked
so
the
there are
other
a variety
question
things that
of,
they're
once
doing.
they write the ticket, is it possible for us to put another mechanism in place? Because I'm clear, Chief Green tells me all the time that they have that 14 days, and they still have to be the ones to go back after that 14 days, which is why my next question after that was, is there something or someone else we can put in place that can maybe do that part for them or help with that part?
Well, you as the council can adjust that 14 to 5 if you choose.
Thank you.
But that's
Okay.
a council decision.
I mean, no, but that's the reason we're here, right? Is to talk about ways that we can help and ways that we can make this budget make sense for you. So moving on to when we were talking about the hiring process, and this is probably going to be more of a finance, but whatever plans in place to ensure the wage increases and hiring bonuses are sustainable over a long term, especially considering future budget constraints. Because we want to be competitive. We want people to come here. We want people to stay here. We don't want to have to lay them off.
This has been an ongoing discussion amongst the administration. We've had numerous conversations about that. I'm not sure I want to lay out negotiation strategy publicly, but it is something we're very much aware of. And it seems like every time we talk about the police department, that's one of the things we talk about.
That's okay. All right. Yep. And then with the use of technology, the specific technology that we do use in the Intelligence Center to predict crimes, trends, and how are the effectiveness of these tools evaluated? And is that also how we decide when and how the different units in patrol will be, where they'll go?
Well, we deploy our units and select our initiatives and the technology based on the data provided by the intel analysts. So if we have a trend, we have a spike in shootings in a certain area, we're going to deploy our resources to that area based on that data. We've been doing that. I mean, every police department does it. It's not just unique to us, but and the technology that we choose to utilize, we place the technology in those areas based on the crime rate, the high crime. And some of the technology we can manipulate and move to another area of the city. It just depends on what's going on at the time, but that's basically how we select those areas, the technology that we utilize.
All right, and thank you. And then one more thing, it's not lights, it's a lawn full of decorations that are deflated. Thank you very much, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm gonna have to cut you off because look, she holding that timer down. So Chief Green, you and I talked about vicious dogs. I have 4 serious dog bites in my ward. One lady, a senior, lost her leg. You and I talked about the problem that animal control doesn't answer after 4. I'm gonna say after 2, to be honest. And then we don't have weekends and holidays. we have to, and I thought it was a great program, we just kind of got lost. And we need to have that conversation back to some of these other, like Bill Heatley, he has here, some of these other organizations that we need to get dogs underneath control. I don't care who it is, my neighbor 2 doors down, I call animal control. He kept letting them out, and he had a pit bull, he chased the mailman. I don't care who it is, these pit bulls and these people, they don't care. And I don't know why, if it's just in my ward, everybody dog is in my park loose. It's always in my park. And so we need to do a better job. I don't want to see our officers being dispatched to a loose dog. Yeah. And so having another service to that, getting with some of these, and I know Deputy Chief Antcliffe works with K9s, he's your K9 unit. I think because I've had a rescue dog before. You know, and I think we need to do some work with these other agencies to get these dogs off the street.
Well, yeah, so I don't want anyone to think that the animal control, they're understaffed also.
Yeah.
They cooperate with us 100% when we need them. But as you stated,
Yeah.
they have, you know, days off and their off hours. But the issue is we will be dispatched to vicious dogs.
Right.
But sometimes we're not dispatched to stray dogs, and sometimes those stray dogs turn in
To vicious dogs.
To vicious
Yeah.
dogs. So we're responding. The issue is, you know, getting someone to respond. Once we capture a dog, what are we going to do with it?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, and I'm gonna cut you short on this one because, you know,
Yeah.
this is 10 minutes. I'm just saying, can we please look at, with your staff, how can we handle these dogs that are out there? Because we got a lot, and these dog breeders are dumping dead dogs. There's some dead dogs over there, which is gonna lead to my next one, dumping behind Zimmerman School, which there were some dead dogs. So I contacted Zimmerman, the school board. It's dumping. So I get a call out, literally the same day. I did a city tour with Councilman Pfeiffer, and we did cameras on his vehicle, and we went around. I wasn't home literally about to pull in my garage, and I got a call with this trailer. So I go over there, I watch him on the corner. The trailer, he is literally ripping off the siding, probably like a late 1960s, 1970, pretty sure that the insulation is probably asbestos, and he's ripping it off and taking the rims off. Everything. And so I pull up to him, and I watched him first. I said, hey, you can't do this. Well, I wasn't taking this off. Well, look, what's your name, Austin? Austin had half of the aluminum off in his truck. It literally. So the next day, he left it there. I came back, turned it into Blight. Blight went out there. They, behind those units, pulled out stolen vehicle, completely stripped. I've had this before. On 2727 Berkeley, they pulled out 5. So we have a common component. Squatters, drugs or opioid, they steal power. That's another thing. He had hijacked at his house with car jumper cables to the power pole, okay? These are serious things that I'm seeing in my ward. And so these things are a problem. Cumming Street, I've been calling for 2 years, which is technically not my ward, but they become my ward before 2026. And so drug problem, Cummings. So when they cleaned out that home yesterday, they pulled, I don't know how them people get that much junk behind there. I don't know. And they use, I call it the Blight claw, and the truck was full. But these are known squatters. We need a plan to where people don't have to live in their homes because squatters and drug people for years. And I reported to Fang myself, and it's a problem. And so this trailer that he put it together, because people have been tracking it, sending pictures, and it is now in the 4th Ward dumped on Cherry and Branch or something. This trailer that's stripped and the rims are gone. He told me, I'm gonna, you know, it's on video. I'm quite sure Detective Booth, it's on my Facebook, my social media, and he stripped it. I look like I don't know if he started to burn it up or not. But Blight with the NSOs, they are our first defense. If they are riding around, ticketing, citing all day, they got very nice trucks we approved, very nice equipment in them trucks. I mean, if you're, what is the average ticket or per month that a NSO is writing?
I'm not sure. I've been providing the monthly stats, and this last month.
Can you email it to us?
Yeah.
Because that's the problem. Our city looks like trash because, I mean, if that's your job, and not going against them, this was the first time I saw my NSO. We rode around the entire city, didn't see one Flint police officer visible. Not one. I made the call in after I got back home. An officer never called. And it may be your MOU that you don't dispatch. The all call goes out if somebody picks it up, but nobody ever came. And so my residents, because I have 6 organizations who meet regularly, they call me. And I don't call you for that. You know, I called 911 twice. No one ever showed up. The Blight department did show up the next day. He took it off to the 4th Ward. So that trailer is now in the 4th Ward. So it is with the dumped in your ward. I'll send you the address. They dumped it in your ward. They took it from mine. They dumped it in yours. So
just as a matter of record, a patrol car did respond to that location. You were gone at the time that they responded, but at the time that you called, there were over 8 higher priority calls.
You're right.
So I just wanted to make sure that
Mr.
the
Bill,
police
this
just
is my
didn't
time. I
come.
ain't got that much time.
I was waiting on a question.
Okay.
You never.
Yeah. I'm fine with it. But when I was there, it didn't. When I called 911, they know my name. Hey, Tanya. But I want to say this, and I know we have to work together to do better. So the other thing is, but the NSO thing, Chief, I'm gonna stay on you about that. That is so important.
That's good.
That is so, and it's not just them, it's also with us working, you know, out there with everyone. I did finally meet my NSO, and she was nice. And she was there when they were hauling out all the garbage. But we need more citations on things. Also, I want to talk, how many calls did you take in last year to 911? And then how many received a police officer to the call? So how many calls went out? 400 and some thousand?
For the entire county.
Well, how many went out for Flint? Because Flint,
119,000.
okay, how many were dispatched an officer?
Those exact numbers, I don't
Okay,
want to guess.
just, can you email it to me? I'm fair, just if you can email it to me. And I know things go by priority, and as it gets warm, people act like they're passing out bullets and clips. So what are we doing to get these guns off the street with these, what do they call them? It's a name on them. Switch on them. What are we doing? Because those are not guns you're getting back for gun buyback.
Same initiatives we've been running since 2021.
What is that?
Hotspot policing, I just explained it through this.
Okay, here's my next one. Michigan State Police stated that they're leaving. What is that about? Correct me on that. What does that mean that they were pulling out of Flint, Saginaw? What does that mean?
Oh my God. I don't want to speak for the Michigan State Police, but I'm assuming they just decreased their patrols and secure city policing efforts.
Okay. When is Operation Arrowhead up? Was that an agreement with a contract? When does that end?
I'm not sure.
Because I think it was $850,000 that was funded. That funding should be almost gone. That was for a year though, wasn't it?
I believe it's till May.
Until May? Okay. So another thing, I went to, is it 810 Day that they have downtown that reminds me of 420 Day?
The what?
Anyway, there was no police down there. And those young folks are a whole different group. I didn't see a lot till the end. But it reminds me of 420 Day. It does. It really reminds me of 420 Day. But I'm sorry, my time is almost up. So I thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah.
No, we need a call back.
Thank you. And I'm not gonna be long. I just wanted to, and it's probably a piggyback off of what Councilwoman Machette asked. Chief, what is the department's plan to address officer retention, recruitment, and burnout? And is the plan reflected in the budget?
Yes, so for me, of course, just like every other collective bargaining agreement, there's you're going for a pay raise. So that's what they're asking for. So we're going to fight for that in order to recruit and retain officers. And we have, there's been bonuses delivered to these officers, things of that nature. So the biggest issue is financial, that's directly linked to our staffing, to recruitment and retention, is finance. Higher wages.
I know, I had to laugh one day. I was at work, and they had to call the police, a squad car over to the building. So I'm walking down the hall, and one of the officers said, "Hey, Miss Winfrey Carter." And I looked, and I said, "Whoa, wait a minute, you a police officer?" I guess he's a Flint police officer. He was one of my students over at McKinley. I said, "How did you become a police officer as bad as you were?" He's a police officer. He said, "Yeah, I'm a police officer." I said, "Lord." And I thought that was cool to, to actually see him in that position, because I'm going to tell you, he was a rascal. But anyway, Chief, no, seriously, that NSO situation with that parking in that area, I need tickets. And I know they get off at what time?
4.
Okay, so after 4 o'clock, there's a bigger issue because people already know that they're not gonna come around after 4 o'clock. So what are we doing about that?
Well, we've had some
And
initiatives.
that truck, that junk truck, I think he already understands and know that after 4 o'clock, he can park wherever.
Well, Patrol Operations Bureau, we've had initiatives where actually police officers on overtime assignments have been issuing parking tickets.
Okay,
So we adapt. We realize that after 5 o'clock, we still have a parking issue, and officers have initiated parking assignments and issued parking tickets.
okay.
I thought I
So
had those numbers.
now, the young lady, you did say that we're getting how many more neighborhood safety officers?
There's budgeted for 12 for FY '26.
Okay, so how are those extra neighborhood safety officers, how are you gonna disperse them? Like,
Well, first of all, I think you made a suggestion. This would be my suggestion, is that wards that need 2, some wards will have two
Yeah.
neighborhood safety officers, and we'll rotate them around wards.
rotate them around?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it won't be the same ward with 2 neighborhood safety officers.
Okay. And who is my neighborhood safety officer?
Oh, I'm not sure.
5th Ward, you don't know? Okay. Because I did talk to a young lady at one point. I flagged her down. She was in the 5th Ward, and we talked about the parking situation in that neighborhood, which is gonna get, I'm telling you, it's gonna get worse. And those cameras over in that area is gonna be needed.
Oh, they'll be there.
Now, I don't wanna have to put on my police gear and get out there and patrol, cause you know I will. But that's all. Thank you guys for coming. And if I have any other questions, I'll call you, Chief.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. So if you have any questions that weren't answered, if we can send it to them in writing, and then that can be shared with the entire council so that we all have that information.
What time, I'm
and-
sorry, Madam Chair.
Pardon?
What time are they done?
I'm sorry, what?
What time is this done?
It's done at 4 minutes.
4 minutes? Okay. Were you going to take your time?
I was going to take a couple of minutes. 'Cause
Okay.
well, actually, I do have some time, some questions. One of them that I was going to put in writing, that on Marathon Station on Davison Road, that's a problem. And there's a lot of loitering there, as well as across the street at the liquor store next door to Vern's Collision. And I'm wondering if we can't have increased presence over there. There's a lot of problems over in that area. And I think that is probably the hottest spot for complaints about gatherings in my ward, is right there on that corner. And they're across the street from each other. So that's something that needs to be addressed. And because there's a lot of loitering all over, but that's where the prostitutes come in that travel up and down the streets, as well as that. And then there's a lot of squatters. You know, we all know that. Is there any way, if we know that this is an abandoned home and we see people in there, that the police can go in, or do we have to do that through the courts?
Well, that's a hot topic because it depends on the situation. If they've been there for a while, I think you have to follow the eviction process through the courts.
Okay. Lots of complaints on squatters. Yep, every day. And matter of fact, I'm actually have approached several state reps on both sides of the aisle about working together to develop a new squatting law for the state, so that it would make it easier to get rid of these people, especially if they're abandoned homes. That is just about your time. Please,
Madam Chair?
Yes, go
They
ahead.
have 2 minutes. May I?
Yeah, go ahead. 2
Thank you.
minutes.
I have a really quick question, because a lot of times we get told to call 911 for situations that are not necessarily an emergency, and you all are not in charge of the response or dispatch or how that works, right? But I also understand a little bit of their annoyance when we're calling 911 for something that is not an emergency. So moving forward, are there any plans to maybe have NSOs do more than just the first shift, or are there any plans to maybe make something more non-emergency available so that way we're not wasting resources?
Well, for you mean NSOs working a night shift?
Maybe just like second shift or anywhere that when it's not an emergency where, because what happens is you all get a bad break for something that should have really never been a 911 call anyway, but we were told to call 911 and they're saying the police never showed, but it's certain stuff we just don't need to call 911 for.
Yeah, as far as the NSOs working like a second shift, night shift, there's safety concerns with that. But I guess it depends on what type of call. I mean, they would, even if it's a non-emergency, what Genesee County 911 would do is put a general broadcast out, like a stray dog running through the neighborhood, or suspicious male behind the store, something like that. 9 times out of 10 if there's an officer in the area, they will check something like that. But I guess it just depends.
Well, I'm just saying, because there are so many times where you all get a bad rap from officers not showing from them calling 911 for something that probably shouldn't have been a 911 call to begin with. It could have been some other non-emergency alert. I'm just wondering, is there something that we're looking to put in place for stuff like that?
It would help, but I don't think, because it depends.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And we'll get ready for our next one, which is fire.
Emily, keep coming back. Replace me.
That's not Emily.
Yeah.
I don't know if we need it or if they have their own or what.
Yeah.
presentation.
They said they might have a couple of slides. So
Oh, well, there you
I'll
go.
see.
Maybe
I'll
we
see.
just won't do it.
Yep. Yeah, yeah. Oh,
This is Flint reporting from Flint City Hall.
last year,
Once again, you see,
every budget, what the department was.
Christie talking about she sniffed about the boys marijuana and telling her you guys, and she ain't gonna the dope boys because they making more money than the popo. But they only get the popo a raise without them begging for it. Stay tuned, America, New York. See?
What's up?
Captain Obama.
That's why you were there, Mayor talked about, he said, Jim Green, I don't want him to live by.
Now you can get him a second. The chief of command, Blackbeard.
Huh? I'm being all.
Give us that budget.
I'm being all.
I gave
You get it? Got it? Davina, do I gotta push? Do I gotta push this? I forgot. I haven't been here in a while.
I know, I saw him in the mayor's office.
All right. Oh, okay, let me close that one. This again.
Let's do it Indian style, man. Yes. You, take care of Pulaski Street. Yeah, and bring that other chief back into play. You know what I'm talking about.
I guess just the screen. I have one.
It's a yearly.
Yeah, we're doing it. Yeah, we're up. Thank you.
At least we don't have any meetings. I don't think.
Over there, you got nerve to show up. I can't stop the third ward councilman. Oh, if you're ringing that dude, you know, put yours back. All right, what's up, man? You.
Let's roll. Just a second.
I'm gonna behave myself.
Yeah.
Someone okay? The person?
Yeah.
Good.
I would hand it up to the start.
Thank you.
I can't access it in this room. It's just part of the network security.
Oh, and BSNA, and I'm fine with that.
I do have them, it's just I can't.
Yeah, you can just send them to me, then I'm good.
I will.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Keep coming back for you. All right, you know I can see you are. Oh, yeah.
Okay, the time is 6:35, and present for this budget hearing for the fire department, for the record, is Candace Machat, Tanya Burns, Jerry Winfrey Carter, and Judy Priestley. And I'll go ahead and turn it over to the chief or whoever's going to start, because he's not sitting there.
He had to run to the restroom.
Okay, we'll take a few seconds, we'll let him.
become the chief. I'll be resting the chief. We're not resting you. All right. I'm looking out for you, chief.
She gonna
Send out that Indian inspector.
I want you to meet Karen. Karen gonna take care of you.
Hello, Chief. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, ma'am.
We will go ahead and get started with your presentation.
Okay.
You want to start?
Thank you for hearing us today, our budget meeting. The fire department is running well, and we're gonna make it run better. I've been here for, I think, 2 years now, 2.5 years, and it has gone through a metamorphosis in terms of equipment. Our equipment is up, thanks to you guys. Our equipment is up in good shape. Our trucks are in very good condition, and that goes without saying. The fires are up, the ambulances are up. We're doing, we started in October the 1st, and we're up to already over 2,000 runs. And we have billed the constituents of this city over $1 million. We have billed for our services. And I believe we've collected right around 500,000. And we are trying to collect the rest of that 500,000. But the fire department and ambulance projection is almost double or triple than what we said it was going to do when we brought it before you guys, and you guys approved us. So we are very optimistic with what's happening in the fire department. A lot of new people, a lot of new faces. We're hiring a lot of people from our community. A lot of people from our community. Young men, we're looking for more women, but we're looking for more young men. We're going into the high schools and compelling them to consider the fire department as their choice of career. So, thank you.
All right, thank you. Are we doing, you weren't looking, are we doing 10-minute rounds again?
We have until 8 o'clock, so we have an hour and 20 minutes for questions. So there's 4 of us, so that's 80 minutes, no, 9. Yeah, it's 80 minutes, so we can do 20 minutes apiece. So would you like to do it all in one round, or would you like 2 rounds? I'm asking the body.
We could do 2 rounds, just in case somebody else has another question after somebody talks. It
Okay.
might spark something.
Okay, 2 rounds of 10 minutes.
All right, Councilwoman Burns.
Thank you. Mine will be very quick, and thank you for coming. Chief Wiggins,
Yes, ma'am.
arsonist. I mean, do we have, what are we doing? There is an arsonist, probably more than one.
You said what, arson?
What are we doing about arsonists, or arson fires?
Very little at this point, to be honest, very little. There was an arrest about 2 weeks ago, but don't tell them I said it, but they almost stumbled upon this person.
Yeah.
And they lodged him in the jail, and they're waiting to get a warrant. But arsons are very hard to find, to prosecute, because here's what happens. On the east side, where we have vacant, dilapidated property, a lot of times, I believe it's the homeowner that's burning next door or in the area that's burning the houses down. And they know when to do it. And when we get there, the house can't be saved. And so we, subsequent, it burns to the ground. But it's hard to get people to come to us about arson, because it's so easy to get away with. So arsons are way down. But we were happy to have one of our people to go to the police academy and graduate from the police academy. He's over the police department, and he's learning all of the systems of the police department, so,
Is that Dana Daniels?
no, that's John Smith.
Okay.
John Smith, he came to us from the state of Michigan a couple years ago, and so he's police certified, and he will be able to go directly to the prosecutor and to get warrants and everything else, so we won't have to wait for the police department, who have other things that they're dealing with.
Do you have a fire marshal?
No.
Okay. And I know that that's a job that is important.
Yes.
My ex-husband was the fire marshal of Saginaw, so I know how important that is. Especially when arson, we're dealing with arson, because a lot of these fires we're looking at, it's an accelerant that's used to basically torch these properties. And you can't do nothing but let them burn and protect what's around it.
Yeah, but to your point, the people that we're going to catch would be a domestic. When it's domestic, the husband burned the wife's clothes, or the wife sets the house on fire, then we got an eyewitness that we can go after, something that's tangible. But if someone come in the dark of night and they let it burn and everybody else is asleep, by the time we get there, they're gone.
Right, and so a lot of the properties are land bank that are being
Correct.
set on fire.
Correct.
You came out on my street 3 o'clock in the morning.
I sure did.
You were out there.
Yes.
And you came out, I woke up to my neighbor going down the street honking the horn. The fire was so close to his house and the other homes that the police were knocking on the doors, because that building is now left, which is, it's a segue to my next question. When we have these fires that are complete burnout, some are to basements, is it possible we can start putting like orange little fencing to let, because we're in a season where kids are playing. These kids play, and when you're running, you can run into a basement and not know. It is so dangerous.
I agree.
And so even if we do, and that has to be inexpensive, put up the orange fencing to show this is a hazard around here, and it's in every neighborhood. I mean, every neighborhood has, well, not every, 7th Ward, certain part, they don't have fires like we do, but the other part by Stewart School does.
Well, the only thing we have is that yellow tape, and that's not going to help anybody stay out of it.
So can we develop a program for that and maybe work with the building and permit department? Because when they condemn those, if they can put up that orange fencing, because that is so dangerous. And I have seen kids play around them. I've seen kids stand where nothing is left but the front steps, which are cement, because the cement is very important, it doesn't burn, that they stand up there and right behind them is a whole basement that's open.
I think that we have to fight for the land bank to do it, or our Blight department to do it. But the house is still owned by land bank, even though it's burned to the ground, and they don't board it up like they should, and then it burns, and then after it burns, it's still, as your point, there that's open and accessible.
Yeah.
So that is a problem, and I'm going to ask Blight department and the building department, can they impress upon the land bank, the owner of the property?
I think it's a City of Flint issue too, because they have the fire safety fund. And so they get, 20-25%, so they know with those homes. So creating a database that if they're going to those homes which are burnt out, that we withhold a percentage of those funds. You can ride around and see the burnt out basements. I think, and they're not all land banks, some are privately owned. I mean, there are some homes that people don't even live here, but they pay the taxes on the property, and the properties are condemned, and I don't know if there's some trust or what, some of them are. So I just want to bring attention to that part, just for safety, because as we get into the summer, I love to see children out playing, and a house that's a burnout, looks enticing to them, and if they're running, and playing. So the other part, the ambulance program. So we have 3, correct?
We have 3 ambulances. One ambulance is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. On the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we run 2 ambulances 24 hours a day because of staffing.
Okay, because of staff. Now, fire station is at number 3, ML King. Is
Yes.
that one closed or is this browned out, or what are we?
We brown it out because of the staffing.
How many do you have currently that are hired for firefighters, not in your command staff? And
How many firefighters we have?
firefighters, yes.
Is it 93? We're going to include the trainees as well, who's training, and I believe that's 93.
Okay, how many of them are trainees?
Right now, probably a dozen of them are trainees.
Okay, how many licensed paramedics do you have?
We
I know you had 5 before.
we don't have to be paramedics.
Correct, I know everyone's an EMT. I know that you don't have to be licensed, but I know we had 5 that were paramedics.
We
before.
have 3 or 4 that kept their paramedic license.
Okay.
But they're not required.
Right, correct. So how much is a ambulance, if they pick you up and take you, how much is that ride to the hospital?
We charge, to go to the ambulance, I think it's $550 if we take you to the hospital, $550.
$550. And so your ambulance service, can you administer orally or intravenously any, so it's a ride to get you there?
We do basic life support,
And what is basic life support?
airway, breathing, circulation. And if it's anything higher than that, we call for the paramedics and they meet us on the scene.
How quick does that work? So that would be for the county.
Correct.
And so is it the timing just about the same? Because I know with the drug problem, I've had to wait for them to come.
Well, it's an epidemic problem
Yeah.
all over the county and all over the state of Michigan because there are not many EMTs. There's a crisis. You don't even have that many EMTs. And what happens, Councilwoman, is that many times they get in a crisis situation that you're not going to get anybody all over the county. Nobody's coming, not even an ambulance.
No, I agree. I've been to the 911 center, and I know we have been without before this. Hours of 24 hours, we had no ambulance service at all.
That's sad.
I've got the data. And so having these ambulances, to me, is important because you see people, you hear them passed out, a person behind the wheel slumped over.
Yes.
Those calls are every day, all day long. And
those people, a lot of them don't make it and nothing is done about it. So
Chief, that's my time. I'm not being rude. We only got 10 minutes. And a big opioid problem.
For the first round. All right, who would like to go next? Jerry, would you like to go next? Go ahead.
Hi, Chief, and
Hello.
thank you guys for coming. Chief,
Mm-hmm.
let me see. What, how many did you say you have in, the academy now? Do you have any?
We've got about 7 in the academy now that's gonna graduate the middle of May. They'll come out and they'll be infused into our staffing.
Okay. And so, do you have any other plans to recruit more firefighters?
I'm glad you said that in the presence. I'm glad you said that in the presence of the finance director. Yes, we are.
Okay. And it's already in the budget?
I'm not sure if it's in the budget or not. I believe we have a rolling amount of staff we can have. But keep in mind, we get a lot of people that resign. We had 3 to resign in the last 2 weeks. And so we have to keep keeping the pace. But we have 42 people in the fire department that's designated for the ambulance service. We keep 42 people that we make ride that ambulance. I shouldn't say make, they're required.
Okay. So what are your plans, as far as retention? As far as retaining, the firefighters? And do you have something set up, whereas if you come here and we train you, do you have, we give them a job, do you have, okay, they have to stay with the city so many years, or?
That's a good question. That's a good question, and we're having that problem. The problem we're having is they come here, we train them, and because we are a full-fledged fire department, we have a lot of fires, they get a lot of experience, and once they get their experience, they leave and go to other departments. Now, you say retention. I believe it was through some of that ARPA money. When they finish their course and pass it successfully, we give them $5,000. Or if we hire them and they already have their credentials, EMT, firefighter credentials, we give them $7,500. Now, when they leave early, and when they sign, they have to sign for that $5,000, and they sign that they will stay in the department for 5 years. What happened, they leave early, and then we have to have a system to go and get our money. And the system has to go either prosecute them, hold their wages, or whatever that is legal. At least they have to pay our money back. But everybody in the city, in the state of Michigan, the bigger cities, Lansing, Detroit, Grand Rapids, everybody is making offers to our kids. They're making these offers under the table, and some of these guys seem that it's lucrative, they walk out on us. And we can't keep them because they give them big bonuses. Lansing right now pays an EMT, what we pay them, they pay them, start them out with $75,000. $75,000, and a guy with a family, he's going to Lansing.
Yeah, I would too.
Yeah, I would too. So that's what we're fighting against.
Yeah, because we probably have the lowest wages
We do.
in the area.
It's not the lowest, but it's getting better.
It's
Yes, it
getting
is.
better.
And the way it's getting
What
better,
is okay, what are the wages for incoming fresh out of the academy?
well, you remember it was $10 an hour, and we raised it to $15 an hour.
Right.
And those guys are the ones that be riding the ambulance. So also we gave them a stipend every time they ride our ambulance for 24 hours. We give them a $200 bonus for riding our ambulance. And so that's quite substantial. $15 an hour, and then we're gonna give you $200 flat every day you ride that ambulance, so that's quite significant.
It's almost $10 more.
So approximately, we paying them $40,000 to be a firefighter. And then,
Fresh out of the academy,
yes,
okay,
100.8 hours.
and so,
And you gotta realize that we're not 40-hour people. We work 100.8 hours per pay period. So we work longer, so they're gonna make more money. Yeah,
because you guys, they work how many days on and then how many days off?
24 hours on, 48 hours off. And that equals to 9 days a month. So they like that too.
Okay. Oh, okay. All right. Let me see. I wanted to, does the department anticipate any upcoming, capital needs? And I know that we have
I'm so sorry.
the new academy. But are there any other, upcoming capital needs?
Yes, with a fire department, our buildings are 70, 80 years old. The one over there is close to 100 years old. And we have infrastructure. But we have in our capital, things that we're gonna be doing. Last budget year, we put in 2 new kitchens. And we're gonna try to put in 3 new kitchens this budget year. I mean, the kitchens are just gone, dilapidated, so we're putting in all brand-new kitchens again. We did it at Station 5, and then we did it at Station 5, and we did it at Station 3 as well.
Okay.
Brand-new kitchens.
And we currently have, where's my notes?
5 stations.
5, okay, Station 1, Station 3, Station 5,
Mhm.
Station 6, and Station 8.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I have one other question that I wanted to ask. And I think you kind of answered it already with Tanya. And we already talked about, aging equipment.
Mhm.
We took care of that not too long ago.
Yes, ma'am.
We just talked about upgrading the stations, new vehicles, we already did something with that not too long ago.
Also, what we're gonna do too, Councilwoman Winfrey Carter, is, our alert system is so old and antiquated that it's hard for our guys to get up because the bells don't ring when 911 push a button. They don't get the tones the way they are. So that is another capital improvement that we're gonna do, is to put in all new alert systems for each fire station.
Okay,
And that's quite a bit. That's about $100,000 per station.
and that's already embedded in the
Budget.
proposed budget?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'll deal my
Okay.
time, it's probably almost up, right?
Yep, just about. It was like a minute, 12 seconds left. Okay. Candace, do you want to do your time?
Yes. So actually, Ms. Winfrey Carter's last question. First of all, thank you all for coming. Thank you for all of the work that you do. It goes without saying that I am in full support of the fire department. Think you all do an excellent job. Once again, same as the police department, it's a thankless job. So just thank you for everything that you all do. But her last question, and excuse me if it feels a little rapid fire, but we have 10 minutes and we get cut off at that 10. Is a little bit of what Ms. Winfrey Carter was asking. What portion of the fire department's budget is allocated to personnel services, meaning wages, benefits, and training, versus the capital outlay, so the equipment in the facility?
Most of our budget is salary and wages.
Of his budget, about $6 million is devoted to salary and wages and fringes. You have another $5 million which goes to the legacy cost for the pension. We have about $1.6 million which goes for the operating expenses, and about $900,000 which goes for the capital.
Right. And so, and obviously, Flint definitely trying to make more money so that we can, as a municipality, support vital services. But is this allocation in line with the department's strategic priorities? Is there more that could be allocated for your strategic priorities?
Well, to that point, we are going to be in negotiations next year, and I'm sure the bargaining unit is going to be trying to get more money, but I think it's based upon the city our size and what we can do and what we can't do in terms of the revenue.
Great. And I already know the answer to this, but just on record, is the department's staffing level adequate given the number of emergency calls and the growing community needs? I know the answer. I just need it on the record.
That's not a good question to ask the fire chief.
I just need it on the record.
That's not a good question. Well, since I've been here, we have raised the staffing level to about 35 or 40 people since I've been here. I think when we came here, it was like 67, 68, and now we're up to 93 and climbing, so we're moving that way.
Okay. I just want to move a little bit more to your community engagement and impact. Some of these, obviously, I would probably already know the answer to, but how are fire prevention and education programs tailored to address the specific needs of our more vulnerable parts of our community? So, are there additional programs planned for?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
That's a very good question. Fire prevention is one of the most important departments in the fire department because essentially we prevent fires. Right now, we only have one person in the Prevention Bureau, and he's split between his duties in the police department and in the fire department because he's a sworn police officer. But we plan to beef up that division with about 2 or 3 people because, again, we want to get out into the schools. We do a big thing, as you know, with the Fire Prevention Week, where we educate over 600 or 700, and we even have federal people coming in, the Federal Red Cross and Domino's Pizza. I mean, it is a big, big event, what we do, but we want to do that more than once a year. And so, yes, what we're doing for that public education, our fire trucks, instead of them just sitting in the fire department all the time, they now go door to door putting in smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors. As you know, since I've been here, we've put in 2,000-3,000 smoke detectors. And once we're in the homes, Councilwoman, we're educating them. We're not only just putting up smoke detectors, we're doing a cursory inspection, making sure that things are away from their furnace. And so that's a way for us to educate, especially our seniors. Our senior community is large in the city of Flint. And that's our time to shine, to get in there. And our fire deaths for seniors are way, way down. Our fire deaths, even for younger people, are way down, and as a result of those smoke detectors and educating our public.
That's perfect. So how does the department assess the impact of career development initiatives such as, I'm not sure if we still do, but I know at one point during the summer we had like, it wasn't necessarily a training camp, but it was something where we invited youth to come out and just learn a little bit more about what you do like the obstacle course and all of that. So how does the department assess the impact of its career development initiatives with youth on the local workforce and community involvement?
Well, one way we assess it is with the type of fires that we get. Now, the arson fires, that's always going to happen because humans love fire. It's just innate in us that humans love fires, campfires, and everything of that nature.
Yeah.
But we study the impact on the type of fires that we are getting, And the type of fires that we are getting, we're not getting a lot of kitchen fires. We're not getting a lot of fires that are set by careless use of smoking. A lot of those fires are down. That's how we really can assess our education dynamics.
Thank you. And so given the growing responsibilities and expansion of outreach efforts in the department, are you all on track to meet your future service demands without overstretching your resources? Because you just mentioned how you're kind of splitting one of your personnel with the police department as well. Are there any plans or any way in this budget to where you can maybe hire someone that is able to do that full-time strictly for you? Or does it have to stay kind of with this current budget that is in front of us that you're sharing that personnel?
The personnel with the police department? Mm-hmm. Well, he's only being shared now because he has to get all of his training in.
Okay.
But once that's over, he'll be strictly in the fire department. But still, again, he's only one person.
Absolutely.
And we, as the staffing go up, we're going to be putting more people in that division and asking our union, can we use more people in suppression to do the public fire education, which is extremely important.
Awesome. So moving on to response time. What is the current average response time to emergencies, and how does the fire department plan to improve response times with this current budget? Like, is that addressed in this budget?
Response time in the city of Flint is quite well, even with 4 stations running 24 hours, 7 days a week. We're there between 4 to 8 minutes. We're generally there on that scene. As a matter of fact, sometimes they go too fast.
Yeah.
And so we have to monitor how fast they're going, but they get out of that station pretty fast. As far as response time, we get there. And the ambulance as well. Our response time on the ambulance, again, is around 3 to 7 minutes. We can get to wherever we need to get to.
That I will concur, because I certainly hear you all going down the street all the time.
Yes, ma'am.
And I hear a lot from just the community as a whole, wonderful things about the fire department and your response time, and also, I don't know if we call it customer service, whatever we call it, but how you deal with residents. They genuinely appreciate the care that comes from the fire department. I do want to move on to, we are the only full-time fire department in the city, in the county, correct?
In the county, yes, ma'am.
So is there an opportunity, and I don't know if we dispatch out to other areas. I know right now we're building that training facility, so that's an opportunity for some revenue for the city. But do we currently dispatch out to other areas outside of Flint, or do we have such a heavy load that we only take care of Flint fires?
What we have, ma'am, is a mutual aid agreement with the other departments. Generally, they will call us before we call them. Very, very seldom now do we call them to come in the city. Occasionally, they've been calling us to go out, and we will, don't hesitate to go out, because we neighbor with Flint Township, we neighbor with, to the south, Burton, and Mount Morris to the north. So we go right out to help them.
Thank you, Chief. I'll see you the next round. I yield.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
No, it's my phone. It just ding, 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 dings. So, Chief, one of the things, the advantageous things about going to conferences is that you learn things. And one of the things I heard about at the recent Michigan Municipal League Conference is, let me find the right word for it. It is the ground emergency medical transport. Yeah, see? I made a note. That's what I was looking for. Are we participating in that? Do you know what that is?
I never heard of that.
Okay, well, this was signed into law last year, and it's a big thing. It's for municipal EMS providers can be fairly reimbursed for life-saving services, particularly those involving Medicaid recipients. So it's something that it gets us to receive additional dollars for those runs.
So,
Oh, he has,
go ahead.
Hello. We don't deal with that aspect in the department. Our billers are on top of that though. So our billers are aware of it. And yes, we are entitled under the law, law that was signed to be able to bill Medicare and Medicaid more than what the private agencies are doing. Yes.
so I'm
they are
assuming
aware
that
of
we are participating then?
Yes.
That is a good thing, because that was one of my big questions, because it's a significant revenue stream, and it may enable us to even add an additional ambulance.
it. If I may.
Absolutely, you may.
We aren't there yet. No
Is there.
city
Right.
ambulance company is there yet. So it's not something that we can really report on when it comes to speculation. They are trying. So they are trying to add an additional 20% for us to be able to come in. The chief was made aware a couple months ago, but we didn't hear anything back from him. Our billers just mentioned it to me 2 or 3 days ago and say that it does look like this is moving forward.
Okay, because I know it's been signed into law by the governor, right? Because 2 legislators received awards from Michigan Municipal League for spearheading that program. And I wanted to make sure that that is an additional revenue stream to help support our services to the community and possibly add the additional ambulance in, so that hopefully maybe we could get one in every station. So, Chief, you said that all of the kitchens are done now?
I didn't say that.
Oh, okay.
I said we did 2, and we're gonna do 3, try to do 3 this year.
Okay, because when the first year that we were elected for this term, they talked about kitchens, and it was put in the budget. And I want to make sure that those kitchens are done. I did go through Station 5 kitchen a while ago, and there was some areas, I don't know if those have been addressed, some things that need to be corrected, and I wanted to make sure those. Now, did our men get new beds?
We got new beds. We got all new beds.
Wonderful, and they're nice and comfortable. Is
Well,
there,
I never got in one of them, but nobody's complaining.
now, our men are 24 hours on, 24 hours off, and when I had spoken to some of the firefighters, they said that they have to pay for their own internet and cable service.
Yes, they always have.
Always have. Is that something that, because that's out of their pocket, so they're paying for it at home, they're paying for it at work, and I didn't know that, what is there, 3 or 4 guys per station per?
Well, every fire station have about 15 to 20 guys
Okay, so it's a minimum
on all the
cost.
shifts, so they all pay into their slush, and they get what they want. I mean, because they get movie channels, you know.
Okay,
And so, and a lot of them, they buy their own TVs, because if I had to buy one, I would buy a transistor. So they buy their own flat screens.
I just got rid of my last one. Yeah, that was 2 years ago. Year and a half ago, I got rid of my last one. So, okay, because what I want to do is, I want to make it as welcoming as possible for our guys who are staying there for 24 hours a day.
Yes, ma'am.
And I know that they buy their own food, and although I would love to see us give them an allowance per shift, I don't see that in this budget, and I don't know that it will ever be in a future budget. I don't know what.
That would be an allowance for what?
For food,
Oh.
for providing food for why they're there.
Okay, you guys probably be happy to know that the mayor gave all of the firefighters an allowance of about $500 each about 2 months ago. In December, he gave them all $500 each for a job well done. And
that's wonderful.
They were very, very happy.
Whenever
That also included the police department.
Pardon, fire
That was
and
also
police?
Yeah, fire and police.
Wonderful. I look at the fire department as somebody who represents the east side that has a lot of fires. I want to take
Lot of
care of our
fires.
guys.
Yes.
And I'm also constantly, we've talked briefly about the arson, and you know what, I didn't set my timer, so I forgot. But I want to talk briefly about the arsonists, and what can we do to catch these guys? I know you said it's almost impossible, but it can't be impossible. We sit there and we say publicly it's almost impossible. They feel emboldened. We have to prosecute. We must find and prosecute these guys. I understand that during the wintertime, I know there was a house on Marmion where the night that the house burnt up to be non-usable now, I got calls about people going in the basement with firewood.
Okay. I guess I anticipated you guys jumping on us about these arsons, but since the police chief is not here, arson is a police problem because they're breaking the law, and we deem it as an arson because of the accelerants or the way it burns, and we turn it over to the police department, and so that's one of the reasons why we were fortunate to have one of our firefighters to become a police officer. So when we get these situations again, especially this summer, he's ready to do it. We don't have to wait till the police department to get there always. We can start the investigation immediately.
So the firefighter who is trained in the police is now working in the police department, is no longer with the fire department?
Not true.
Okay.
He works as a sergeant in the fire department because now he's finishing up his training.
Okay.
His state training with the police department. Once that's over, he'll be strictly only in the fire department. And when our guys get a fire and they have suspicious in nature, he can be called out immediately and begin his investigation. So it's going to be better.
And I would like I think you guys know more about where the fires are happening even more, because I'll see it on Facebook that maybe we can work with the police department to put cameras so that we can find these people. I know that some of them, especially in the winter, they're trying to stay warm in these abandoned houses. That's what I suspect a lot of the fires from the winter were.
So you have different type fires. You got fires, as you said, of vagrants living in a house, and the fire gets overwhelmed. And then you have actual arsonists.
Right.
And those are the ones that are very hard to find because they don't sleep at night. And that's when they do their biggest business. And so cameras, neighborhood associations, watching out, that's all we can do. And now we are postering the houses with arson posters with $5,000 rewards. Okay. And we're hoping that will help as well.
And I stress, see something, say something.
Yes.
And everybody has a smartphone. Take pictures.
Yes, ma'am.
Even if you don't have a smartphone, you've got a camera on your phone. So since I didn't start my timer, I'm going to yield the rest of whatever I have left. And Jerry, you got another 10 minutes? You're good? Candace, go ahead.
Thank you. All right, I just wanted to get into a little bit of collaboration and partnerships. These two questions might sound the same, but I promise it's two different questions. What partnerships does the fire department have with other local agencies, organizations, or community groups? And how are these collaborations reflected in the budget? So how does this department leverage partnerships to expand its reach and impact?
That's a good question. I'm a member of the Genesee County Fire Chiefs Association, and we meet once a month at various communities. We've even entertained them in our own fire department, where we collaborate and network. One of the reasons why that's a good thing to do is our cascade system blew up, and we couldn't load our self-contained breathing apparatus tanks. So we went to Burton Fire Department, and we also went to Genesee Fire Department that opened their doors to us so we could fill our tanks. So collaboration is good. Also, we have a new subdivision on Richfield Road. We call it Sugar Maple Farms. Well, that's city property annexed, and it's right around the corner from Genesee Fire Department. Well, it takes us 5 miles to get there. So we went to Genesee Township Fire Department and collaborated with them, and now we have an agreement that when there's a fire out at Sugar Maple Farms, which is Genesee Road and Richfield Road, that's city property. And we have to run our way out there. So we have a collaboration that they run with us.
Okay.
So yes, we have those ties.
Okay, so you kind of answered the second part of other public safety agencies, police departments, public health organizations. But how are you working with public health organizations to address broader public health and safety issues such as the opioid overdose responses or disaster preparedness?
We're not doing anything as far as the opioid, as far as our ambulance. All of our ambulance carry Narcan. I think our fire trucks as well carry Narcan. And thank God, because of the opioid lawsuit throughout the nation, the city gets opioid money, and as you know, that opioid money helped us buy the ambulances. So that's a collaboration that we're having with the opioid. And also, we have began an emergency operations center. We had none. If we get a tornado right now, nobody knows what to do.
Right.
People say, well, call the council people. They'll do it. No, you got to call. It starts with the fire department. So what we've done, we've developed an emergency operations center. And we've been meeting with all of the department heads. We recently met with Mr. Metropolis from the county, and he is working with us to develop that because we have to be ready. We also own the property of Bishop Airport. That's ours.
Yes.
And so we're collaborating with Bishop Airport as well, because not if, but when they have a disaster out there, a plane crash, then everybody got to come. So we're collaborating, and we are going to have different stages of when we're going to activate our emergency operations center. And you all of the council people will be notified when we operate the emergency operations center, because you're going to have to come there and help us, because we're going to be helping your constituents in your area. If their disaster is in your area, we need you guys to come into the emergency operations center so you can help us help your people.
Well, Chief, as you very well know, I am more than ready to come and help in any kind of disaster situations, or making sure that residents are prepared to help as well. So I'm fine with it. I'll come.
Okay.
You can give me a call. I want to go back to, once again, to the sustainability of career development programs really quickly. And it might have already been answered, so forgive me, but what is the budget allocation for sustaining those programs in the long term? Like, are there any grants, sponsorships, or external funding opportunities that the department can tap into?
Well, we always have our ears to the grind, because they're federal grants, and because the administration has changed in Washington, many of those grants have dried up immediately, overnight. And so we're looking for other ways of getting hold to philanthropists that will help us in the short run to do some of the major things that we want to do.
Related to that, citywide, we're in the process of implementing a grant management software program which will help with that. And part of what the purpose of that program is to find other grants. You tell it what you're looking for, and it'll keep an eye out for those grants and give you an alert for that. Karen has been attending all the training sessions so that the fire department is going to be well positioned to look for grants and receive grants with this new program. So we'll be talking about that later.
Thank you. And then I want to move on to businesses and proper fire inspection. So I know there's a whole thing that you have to go through before they even get to you, right? One, we have to know they're an actual business operating, so there's that. Two, they have to update their license. And then three, I think it comes to you after we are for sure that one, it's a business that's operating with permission. And then two, they have to be up to date on their license. If I'm saying this process wrong, please feel free to correct me. And then three, you can go do a proper inspection to make sure that they are up to fire code?
Yes, they start with the license department, and the license department every spring give us at least 500 license inspections that we have to do, which includes bars, after hour, stores, party stores, bump and paint shops, and the like. And we have to go out and do our due diligence, especially gas stations. And we have to go out and do those inspections. Subsequently, is a time limit, and even I myself get in the car and do a lot of those inspections so we can keep up with that. So yes, we do.
And that was actually going to be my next question, so thank you for asking that, of if there is a certain amount of time that you have to have those 500 complete. Now, is that something that is generally done by the fire marshal? And if so, I know we currently do not have one. Are there plans for hiring another fire marshal? Are we going to do that from within, or are we doing a search from without?
Well, the fire marshal's position is not open.
Okay.
So, but he is off work.
Okay.
But we have a fire inspector, John Smith. He does all of the fire inspections. Also, you see us downtown with all the streets blocked off with all our fire crew there. Well, we're going into those high rises. We go into my foundation and we completely do a top to bottom inspection. The new YMCA, we'll be in there to doing the inspection. The Horizon, or the old Huntington Bank, where they are completely remodeling that for the Genesee County administration. We're in that building. So our job, we don't sit down. People think we sit in the station 24 hours a day. That doesn't happen.
Oh yeah, we don't think that. I can assure you, nobody thinks that. Nobody thinks that.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah,
They're
no.
not sitting, they're sleeping.
So if you worked 24 hours and had to run into a burning building and caught 10 seconds there you go. You could catch 10 seconds, you'd catch it. I think that might be it for me. I'm gonna do one more pass through of all these questions that I've had. Some of this stuff is
Okay.
pretty self-explanatory, but I do want to just close out by saying once again, I am in awe of your department. I think your department does an amazing, amazing job. I'm in full support. I think that making sure that you are fully staffed and have what you need, and making sure that firefighters have full comfort, especially for you all are running literally into fires. And when you're not doing that, you are first responders. So you're getting there first to, if there happen to be overdoses or whatever medical situation there might be. And so to make sure that the ones who have been doing these jobs for a very long time and the new people who are coming in, like Councilwoman Priestley said, that you feel fully welcomed and fully supported is a priority for this council. And to make sure that you are staffed in the way that you need to be staffed is a priority for this council. I'm going to turn it over to the financial guys. I know the mayor has presented a balanced budget, but one of the things that we have a responsibility to do as council is to ensure that if there are opportunities to support departments, gosh, how do I say this politely? Because I don't want anybody to think their department's not vital, because it takes all of us to run a city, right? And in order for this to be effective. But, and just for you two, and I know, I've worked for a mayor before, so I understand already how this has to go with this question. But is there anywhere in this budget that you see that maybe we could be more helpful, impactful for the fire department?
We try very hard. I know the chief, we work very well together.
Okay.
And I know he likes to give me a hard time, I give him a hard time. But the bottom line is I really haven't said no to him very much.
Okay.
That's true.
All right. Well, I will yield my time.
All right. I just have a couple of questions. I was looking at this sheet, especially in regards to the ambulance operations. Anybody would think I can't talk. Yeah? Oh, okay, yeah. So, okay, well, that could be. So Candace has asked me to ask you, because it's just the two of us and we have another 30 minutes. If you want to ask that question, you can go ahead and ask that. Are you sure? Yeah, go ahead.
Look at how you get a little leeway when it's less people. Thank you. So we have had residents, especially when they hear that we now have an ambulance service that's from the city. Can you, just walk us through how residents get maybe the city ambulance service to come? Because there was a rightfully distraught mother who came before us the other day, and she has a child who is struggling with addiction, and she was saying that she found it difficult to get the city to respond to the need and then to have the city provide an ambulance for the need. And I don't have the specifics, and I don't want to misquote what she told me, but it was she was very upset with the city in our response to her need for an ambulance for her child.
Chief Kwame?
Okay. We aren't quite big enough to be able to handle all of our residents. There is a lot of people that come that want our service, but we aren't there yet. So we have to come in and play with the other ambulance companies, and in that way the residents are getting the closest appropriate ambulance. And so we would love to be able to lock all of those other ambulances out, but we just can't do it right now.
So what percentage are we doing?
We're taking about 25% of all city calls right now. As we add people and add ambulances, that number will go up. I'm satisfied with the 25%. We didn't expect that much. But yeah, we are. 25% of all city calls that go out a day, that's what our ambulances are doing.
And can we just, for the record and for those who are watching, walk through the process of, because I think some people think it is, you call the fire department and then the ambulance just shows up because we called our municipal government and said we need an ambulance, so they automatically send the ambulance. So can you just walk through the process of, if you happen to get the call, like how would that call even get to you?
Okay, so they call 911. 911 has all of the ambulances in Genesee County on a system that they call the grid. And what that system will do is it will map out to whatever call that came out, the closest ambulance. And so after they determine which ambulance is closer, that ambulance will be dispatched to that resident. Okay, so it wastes time for them to call the local government or for them to call the fire department, because we're gonna direct them to call 911. So they should just call 911 and trust in their system that they're gonna get the closest available ambulance possible.
And thank you. And I do want to, just before I yield my time for real this time, Judy, I do want to reiterate that at the beginning of this, when we first talked about getting ambulances and putting money in that direction, and we had a couple people who were hesitant and resistant to it, thinking it would go anywhere. And one of the things that I fully believed after that kind of like studying and talking to you, Kwame, was the fact that this is something that could pay for itself. And that it would be something that it would be of a great benefit to Flint residents, because now you have another opportunity for an ambulance to get to someone, as opposed to someone trying to rush to the hospital themselves, or someone unfortunately ending up passing away in some sort of public place or even in their own home. And so we are currently at over 1 million billed for the ambulance services for the city, and 500,000 collected for the ambulance services in the city. Am I correct?
Correct.
500,000, so half of that, yes.
One thing you should bear in mind with that is there is a lag between the time we bill and the money comes in. And we're still trying to figure out how much of a lag there is, but it's actually performing
not that
better than we
long.
had anticipated.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Mr. Moore.
What is the contractual that we have lost on our billing? Is it the amount of billing? Is it the fair? Because I used to work in the reimbursement department of Hurley, and we dealt with, this is the charge, this is what the insurance company is going to pay you, and it's usually 25% or less than what the charge is.
Correct.
Do we know what that?
We bill out Medicare allowable or Medicaid allowable. They, Medicare and Medicaid will pay a specific amount.
Right.
Then what our billing company does is they will, what they call the copay, they will send to the resident, okay? Now, where that goes beforehand, I know the chief is still in negotiations with what he's going to do, or what the city wants to do with that remainder if people don't pay. Okay?
If it's a Medicaid, Medicare patient, Medicare will not allow you to bill the customer for the whatever Medicare and Medicaid does not pay. So they don't allow you to bill it. So that's a loss.
There is other
That's the
things
co-insurance.
There is other things, the mileage, they don't address. And so that's what we
Okay.
talk about when we talk about co-pays.
Okay, thank you. I'm thinking in the, in the financial part of that.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at this, and that was one of my questions. I really would like to see, if it's possible, I'm assuming we know how many man-hours we're putting on that truck, on that ambulance when we're doing a call, how much we're billing for it. I'd like to see some kind of a breakdown, just to show somewhere down the line that we are actually making our expenses, although life is more important, but we want to make sure that we're covering our costs if possible, and especially with the 20% additional. I'm looking at the internal records of the EMS calls, and we've got only 39% are billed calls, and we got 52% of EMS calls with nothing indicated whether those are billed or not. And that's what I was questioning. It's on this, it's the second page from the end. And the pie chart.
Okay.
Yeah, the internal records of the EMS calls. Can you just explain what the EMS calls are versus the billed calls? I'm assuming not all calls are billed then?
Okay, so, the 52% would be, okay, I'm so sorry. The 52% would be all calls. So, everything that we've sent out, the 2,200 and some odd calls that have been dispatched to our EMS units. Of that, 39% of that is what we've collected.
Okay.
Excuse me, what we've billed. And then you'll see the 7% the refusals, 2% were they in quality assurance right now. We have to maintain those numbers. We're working through them, but as we continue to add to quality assurance. So it's a continuation every day. So as far as the EMS calls, the billed calls, there's always going to be calls that we can't bill for. People call, family members call, they turn around and I don't want to go. We can't bill for that.
Are those the refusals?
Yes. We can't bill for no patient found, where we can't get a refusal. We can't bill for when we go to our residents and we pick them up off the ground. We can't bill them for
You
that.
go to
We
my
will
neighbor's
not bill
house a
them for
lot.
that. So that's where the
Okay.
discrepancy is coming from. Those calls are.
That's what I was
That's
wondering.
the service that we provide.
That's what I was wondering, okay. Because I have a neighbor who is very unsteady on his feet, and matter of fact, he fell a couple weeks ago and broke his hip. And the fire truck came and picked him up. No. And he's got Medicaid and Medicare, so he's,
No charge.
yeah, he's in nursing home right now. So, all right, I don't have, and those were my big questions. Like I said, we want to make sure that our first responders are well taken care of. We need to keep and retain our first responders. So we need to treat them as well as we can.
Yes.
And you feel that this budget does that?
Yes, ma'am.
I used to work for a mayor, so I can't.
I know. All right.
ma'am.
All right. So what I've asked our council members to do is that if they have any further questions, to submit them in writing. And then you can respond to that through Davina in her office, and then they will forward it to all of us. Yes,
I
sir.
have one comment to make that Monday, we originally scheduled the mayor
Yes.
budget, and he won't be able to attend Monday, but he can attend on the 21st. And so we're going to swap out the HR for the mayor so that he can be here. Otherwise, you'll be stuck with Clyde and myself. So.
Okay. And Lee is going to be under you, and he's going to come on that day as well?
Pardon?
Lee?
Yes.
Okay, because he asked me today, I saw him.
Yeah, Lee will be there as well as IT.
Okay. All right, so we've got everybody covered. No, so that would have to be an amendment.
Yeah, I just have a question.
Yes.
Right now, the mayor's office is scheduled for an hour and a half, and HR is for an hour, so do you want me to switch the times accordingly?
We will work with the council, whatever they want to do.
Because I'd like to repost the notice.
Yeah,
So
we'll-
I can just switch the times, just to make it so that they
We
have
can
an
make
hour and
it
a half.
consistent too at 5 o'clock across the board if we're going to have it to amend it. Let's go ahead and make all the times start at 5.
Okay. All right.
Does that, unless that's going to push us beyond 8:30 or something.
I mean, that didn't really address what I was
We'll talk
asking.
about that, and then we'll set out a new schedule. All right, well, thank you very much. You are excused. Thank you for all your good information and
Thank you, guys.
informing the public.
Thank you so much for having I couldn't do it without these two right here.
We know.
No, that's not nice. That's not nice.